Tenses are very important in every given language because they enable us to not just relate, but ensure that we communicate properly. The French language is a language of tenses, and mastering the conjugation of tenses in French, the application, goes a long way to ensure one has a mastery in speech and in writing. That is why we are looking at this important tense in French known as le futur. You stay to the end of this video, you are going to understand the conjugation, the usage, and of course some practical exercises that will help you as a student preparing for exam at the tertiary level, even at the secondary school level. This is FLEhub, and in this place we talk about French language, French vocabulary, French grammar, French culture, and we also give one-on-one coaching in French. And so you can reach us via the comment section and our team will be ready to attend to you. Back to our topic this particular time, le futur, the future tense. We have various usages of the future tense. But what is the future tense all about? When we try to express things that have not happened in a particular time, or we try to express civility, or we try to talk about a goal, or the likelihood of something happening. Sometimes we want to give a command, or we are making a promise. All these instances in French, we make use of the future tense. Another thing you must note is that since we are studying French from the Anglophone background, the French future tense conjugation is not like we have it in English. In English, you need your modal verb, just as we. You might have I will come tomorrow in English. But in French, we don't have the will when conjugating the future tense. There is a particular way of making verbs from the infinitive a future tense, and they are used directly like that in French. Let's look at the conjugation of the future tense now. We call it formation du futur simple. There's only one way or one endings for all future tense. So whether the verb is a first group verb, a second group verb, a third group verb, I say first group is ER verbs, IR verbs, OIRO, RE verbs, third group verbs. Whether the verb belongs to any of these three broad categories in French, these, as you can see on your screen, are the endings of the verb. You have for je, AI, AI. You have for tu, AS. You have for il, A. You have for elle, you have A. For nous, you have your ONS. For vous, you have your EZ. For il, you have your ONT. And then for elle, plural, you have your ONT. Every future tense, irrespective of the verb, will end with any of the endings, depending on the personal pronoun you are using. You will see more of that when we come to the practical section, so hold on as we go along in this particular study. Before we delve into the conjugation of different future tenses, it is wise and expedient that we take a look at the auxiliary verbs. These auxiliary verbs are so important because without them we cannot conjugate anything in the past in French. So you must know them. They are vital. Now, to conjugate an ER verb or IR verbs, the future tense, what you needed to do is just to add those appropriate endings I mentioned earlier in the previous slide. And then for third group verb, you remove most of the time their endings and add the terminaison, which is those endings for the future tense. But look at avoir, the left side of your screen. Avoir, to have. You have j'aurai, tu auras, il aura, elle aura. Nous aurons, vous aurez, ils auront, elles auront. You see the endings AI, AS, A, ONS, EZ, ONT, ONT. Now let's look at the example we have there. That's the example 2 there. Il aura un nouveau professeur la semaine prochaine. He will have a new teacher next week. You see that aura there, A-U-R-A, is what makes that sentence futuristic in itself. So when you use the future tense, the sentence is futuristic, it's future. This is an action that will happen in the future. The second verb auxiliary is être. Je serai, tu sauras, il saura, elle saura. Vous saurez, nous saurons, ils sauront, elles sauront. Mind you, the nous should come before the vous. That is the standard practice. But let's look at the endings now. You see, for the je is AI, for tu is AS, for il is A, for elle is A, for the vous is EZ, for nous is ONS, for il is ONT, for elle ONT. Look at the example number 1 now. Je serai au bureau à 8 heures demain. I'll be in the office tomorrow at 8 o'clock. You see, that serai after the je is what makes that sentence futuristic in itself. So you want to take note of this. They are very, very vital. To conjugate ER verbs, which are first group verbs in the future tense, basically what we do, apart from the verb aller, you just write the infinitive of the verb, the stem. Parler, to speak, the infinitive or the stem, the root verb, is P-A-R-L-E-R. Now, you have to write your personal pronoun first, very important, and then add those endings for the future tense. AI, we have je parlerai, tu parleras, il parlera, elle parlera, nous parlerons, vous parlerez, ils parleront, elles parleront. So you just add the endings. In fact, this is the simplest to conjugate. So when you see ER verbs in your exam as a student, just add the endings, the appropriate endings, and you are going to get the answer parallelly. We'll see more of that in the practical section as we move ahead. Now let's look at the list of verbs now by your right hand side that can be conjugated similarly. They are all ER verbs. You have donner, to give, manger, to eat, nager, to swim, partager is to share or to distribute. Then you have travailler is to work, remercier is to be grateful, to be thankful, penser is to think. You have regarder, to look, continuer, to continue, rencontrer is to meet someone. We have commencer, to begin, to start something. These are lists of verbs, first group verbs. You can conjugate them just like you conjugate parler. And so, as students, I will give you this assignment. Pick any 5 of them and conjugate any 5 of them of your choice. Conjugate it in the future tense. And if you are watching and not subscribed, now make sure you hit the subscribe button. And then conjugate any 5 of them. Send it to me at the comment section. I'll be grateful to know you did that, and I'm going to take time to reach back to you. So please do that, and let's make sure you master the conjugation of the first group verb. We have other forms of verb that are first group, but they are a bit irregular. Their stem changes. If you have followed a video on the conjugation of verb, we have something like that in the channel. You will find a video that has to do with that. You are going to find that for verbs that ends in ler, ter, yer, there is a bit of inflection in their stem. Look at the first one on your screen, appeler. It means to call. J'appellerai. Unlike other verbs we looked at just a few minutes ago, that you just add the endings. Though you are going to add the endings to this one, good and fine. However, for verbs like this, you will have to double the consonants, just like you do in the conjugation of their present tense. So we have j'appellerai. For ler, you double the L. Tu appelleras, il or elle appellera, nous appellerons, vous appellerez, il, elle appelleront. So we double the consonant L, and then we add our endings to conjugate the verb. The same thing applies for ter verbs. Je te, je jetterai, tu jetteras, il, elle jettera, nous jetterons, vous jetterez, il, elle jetteront. Mind you, most of these inflection in the stem are put there to ensure there is proper pronunciation. It's therefore phonological reasons. But that is how the verb is conjugated. Now look at the next one, acheter. Unlike jeter, where you have to double the T, for this one we don't double the T. Rather, we brought in what we call accent grave. We have j'achèterai, nous achèterons. I mixed it up in a way to mess up with your head, but understand you have your je, tu, il, elle. You have tu achèteras, vous achèterez, il, elle achètera, il, elle achèteront. That is for that one. Now for verbs that ends in yer, some people maintain the y. The others generally we change the y to I. So I decided to go with this one so that as a student, when you meet it in the exam, you are not confused. But at the level of the nu and the vu, you don't mess up with that. You maintain the y instead of the I. Let's say we have now je paierai, nous payerons, tu paieras, vous payerez, il, elle paiera, il, elle again paieront. So these are the way you conjugate the verbs in the future tense. Please, I must have messed up my own with the je, nous, tu, but note it is je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle. Do it that way, like I did for the first two, and you are going to be better off. Second group verbs. The same thing applies. You look for the verb in second group verb. All you do is to add the terminaison. Your work is to add the endings. And let's look at two popular second group verbs as you have it on your screen there. You have number one, fini. We followed practically the same thing we did for the verbs. For verbs, what we did was to add the terminaison to the verb, the infinitive, which is the root and the stem of it. The same for fini. We have je finirai, tu finiras, il ou elle finira, nous finirons, vous finirez. They have il, elle, finiront. And you find the same thing applicable to rempli. For rempli, you have je remplirai, tu rempliras, il, elle remplira, nous remplirons, vous remplirez, il, elle rempliront. This is applicable for all second group verb. To know more about second group verbs, you can check another video. You see it in the channel there. It's called second group verbs. Just go through the channel. You're gonna find something like that. The third and most exciting part of this whole exercise is the third group verb. Now for third group verbs, remember a verb can end in IR as well and be a third group verb. We'll see some examples very soon. However, understand when we say third group verbs, we're talking about irregular verbs generally. And for third group verbs, apart from the one that ends in ROE or IR, every other one will end in IR. Now, for the ROE verbs that are third groups, we remove the final E generally, and then we add our endings. Take for example the first one you have on your screen there by your left hand side, attendre. It means to wait. We remove the E and we added our endings. J'attendrai, nous attendrons, tu attendras, vous attendrez, il, elle attendra, we have il, elle attendront. Now when you come to faire, the verb in between the two, you find that it's not the same thing. So the verbs are irregular, so not one boss visitor. For faire, we have je ferai, tu feras, il, elle fera, nous ferons, vous ferez, il, elle feront. For aller, we have j'irai. I told you the other time that aller is irregular. So you can also check that in the channel, you will see a lot of things on that. Tu iras, il, elle ira, nous irons, vous irez, il, elle iront. Now look at the fourth one, boire, to drink. Je boirai, tu boiras, il, elle boira, nous boirons, vous boirez, il, elle boiront. Now for that last boiron then, mind you, there is a T missing. Kindly add it as you take notes. If you're a student, even if you're not a student and you want to take notes, you're most welcome. Add it to it. That's not going to be completely spelled. Having looked at that, let's look at some other ER verbs now. Look at partir. I told you, dormir, vêtir, couvrir, ouvrir, offrir, souffrir, cueillir, cueillir. These are all irregular verbs, and as you can see, they don't follow the end in I, but they don't follow those normal IR verbs. They are third group verbs, so you learn them as you read them. But look at the example, what examples I gave you now. For devoir becomes je devrais. I just gave you the stem. For you add when you add the endings to all these stems in front of them, you are going to have the verb conjugated in the future. Je verrai, je verrai. You have faudrait. You have pleuvrait, pourrait, serait, voudrait, viendrait. These are the stems for all these irregular verbs to conjugating their future tense. So take note of them. They're important. You will need them. The last section I want to talk about, called the practical exercise, is the conjugation of pronominal verbs. Yeah. When you say verbs are pronominal verbs, that is the action. The person doing the action, the person carrying out the action is the same. We call them reflexive verbs. To know more about this, you also get a video they channel very short. It's called reflexive verbs. So you can look at that in the channel. But let's look at this one. Conjugation of pronominal verbs in the future. So raser, to shave. Just the way you conjugate the ER verbs, the same thing. The only difference here is that so, the reflexive pronoun will be conjugated. And when you go, let's take it, I have je me. The mot there is for the so. Je me raserai, tu te raserais, il, elle se rasera, nous nous raserons, vous vous raserez, il, elle raseront. The same thing applies to se coucher. Je me coucherai, tu te coucheras, il, elle se couchera, nous nous coucherons, vous vous coucherez, il, elle se coucheront. So once you master the conjugation of first, second, third group, when you come to pronominal verbs, just know that you just have to conjugate your pronoun and the verb follow the same way. It doesn't change. A verb is a verb. Look at the screen now. You find some exercises. I try to create something and bring out something. You have je parler. Now, if you follow very well, you're going to be parlerai. That's the one in red. But you look at the one in blue in that question 1, it's correct at the present tense, but not the future tense. You have for toi, tu donnais le livre à Marie. You have the donnera. That is the correct one, coordinated with future tense. But if it was present tense, it would have been A, which is done. So take note of the difference between the present and the future. We have Isabelle finit le devoir aujourd'hui. Il finira because it's future. So we have on t'appelait la semaine prochaine. When you see that on ta, that T there, this is a reflexive verb. The answer will be appellera because it's future. It could have, if it was present tense, it could have been B, but that's not the case. A is the answer there. We have il aimait manger les fruits. It's going to be il aimera because it's future. Remember, it's future tense are A. Aim would have been okay, but that was present. So aimera is our answer. Il va travailler chez tes parents demain. Travail would have been the answer, but that is present tense. You have travailleront. That is the future. Vous rendre visite à votre médecin. That médecin there is M, not N. Please take notes. Plus tard. Would have been rendez, it was present tense, but it's rentrer because we're dealing with future. So take note of that. So thank you so much, and we will see you in the next video. Bye. We love you from FLEhub community.